All right, everybody. We're back. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. I probably changed the angle of the camera, but that's all right. Okay, some quick announcements. I should check your Canvas inboxes. I did finally send the individual research project topics a computer. It tells you what to do. Please do not reply to the message with your assignment. I will not grade it. Please attach your assignment, yes, to the actual assignment in Canvas so I can grade it. Again, it should not take you very long to complete. Really hoping you don't spend a lot of time on it. So it should be a pretty easy 79 points. You'll also notice I changed the due date on it. So yes, you do have the full 2 weeks. Yesterday was interesting, I know. Hopefully it didn't impact you in any of your classes. I know it did me, so I got my extensions where I needed to get them as a student. Because I'm like, I can't get in. So anyway, we're back up and running now. Was it late yesterday? It finally all came back. No, it was not a cyber attack. You can go look it up. Had to do with one of the servers in Virginia that either malfunctioned or somebody got stupid and did something wrong to it, which that's a possibility too, but hasn't been reported what it actually was yesterday, just to let you all know. So if you find out before I do, I'm sure you'll message me. All right, so today, traditionally a very long lecture. I'm going to cut it to probably about 40-45 minutes or less. So we're going to go over communications and networks. And keep in mind, there are two parts of this chapter, and that's why they call it communications and networks. Yes, there's a lot of terminology in this chapter. I'm not going to bore you to tears, I hope, with all that terminology. It's great to see faces I haven't seen in a while come back to this class. That's fantastic. It's great to see people. Yes, I know who misses and who's here every class. Of course, some people haven't been here in like 6 weeks, but at least they're turning in work, so can't complain about that. All right, and that's you. I know that's you watching. That's you. I see you. Okay, all right. Yeah, camera's over here today, so I'm going to be pointing that direction. All right, here we go. So businesses and us, we are connected. We're like connected all the time. So increased connectivity potentially means increased productivity. It can also mean, well, increased goofing off, especially in businesses. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about the concept of connectivity. I mentioned it, I think, in chapter 1, and the impact of the wireless revolution, which we have been in now for quite some time. So we look at the definition of computer communications. That's the process of sharing data, programs, and information between, now this says 2 or more computers. My problem with that statement is it could be 2 or more devices. It doesn't always have to be a computer. It can be something else on your network. And there are a lot of different applications that depend on these communication systems. Again, we have been in the wireless revolution for a really long time now. We don't sit behind our desks with wires connected all over the place. That is, unless you come to my office downstairs. And you'll see I'm connected to all kinds of wires, but that's by choice. But anyhow, it's been nice to be able to work without having to like sit behind the podium, sit behind things. I would rather prefer to do this out in the open. Of course, I'm kind of like stuck here because of the camera angle. But yes, I really do like wireless connectivity. And when it goes down, we all freak out. All right, when it goes down, every one of us freaks out. I don't know if that freaked you out yesterday when we lost access to Canvas, but yeah, that was interesting. Huh? All right, so camera, I guess I'm going to try to angle it now over to the slide. Yeah, check that out. Okay. All right, so here's our communication system. A lot of you don't think about this because when you send a message to somebody and they receive it and they reply back, it happens really, really fast. So keep in mind, we have to have sending and receiving devices. So I'm going to send you, let's say your individual research project, right? So I'm sending you that message. I need some kind of connection device to send that to you. Yes, I'll talk about the connection devices in a little bit. And then through the communication channel itself, my message gets broken up, or my email or whatever, or my message gets broken up into packets. And then gets reassembled. I'll talk about that in a little bit too. You have to have a connection device. You see the message and receive it. That's the entire communication system. It comprises of sending and receiving devices, connection devices, data transmission specifications, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and communication channels. And yes, I'll talk about those as well. But I want you to just envision receiving my message on I think it was Sunday. Receiving my message on Sunday, and there we go. And that's what happened. I sent it, you received it, and if you replied back, thanks, you'd be the sending device and I would be the receiving device. And it goes over and over and over again. We don't think about these things. So, there are two types of communication channels. There are physical connections and there are wireless connections. And this carries the data from one computer to another. As I mentioned before, think about the message I sent you all this weekend. If you're just joining us, you do have your topic. I know you all got different ones because I checked. So, anyhow, we have various different communication channels. Regarding physical connections, we have twisted pair, coaxial, and fiber optic. And these have all been around for some time now. So, my DSL people, you are likely using twisted pair cable. And it's called twisted pair cable because if I cut the cable open, what's inside of it? A twisted pair of cables are inside of it? Yes. Okay, very good. Yes, if I cut that open, that's what I see. So usually those are telephone or Ethernet cables. Those of you that have coax cable, which I guess no longer have, that's 80 times faster than twisted pair cable. And fiber optic cables, if you don't know how fast light travels, you're just going to take a wild guess and say it travels what? Fast. So yes, fiber optics have made our data transfer rates a lot faster than ever before. Again, I'll go over some of this stuff as we continue through. There are many different types of wireless connections that are out there. Bluetooth is good for short range, roughly 33 feet. Some of you will be like, well, I can go farther than 33 feet. Yeah, but what happens to your connection if you go too far away from your device? Like if you've got your wireless earbud in, and you go too far away from your phone, what happens in that connection if you go too far away? It just stops, right? Or it goes from my earbud to blaring on my speakers in my bedroom, and that's not good. So I have to, if I'm going to leave the room, put the earbud down, and then go from there. Wi-Fi has been around for a long time, but keep in mind that Wi-Fi are short distances. They're not long. They're not long, and there are many different, as you can see, industry standards. We are now at the gigabits per second, which is really, really fast. Microwaves. Usually these microwave towers are found on mountains because they're up high because you need a line of sight from wherever you're working with to that tower. Worldwide interoperability for microwave access, that is WiMAX, extends the capabilities of Wi-Fi. Long-term evolution, that I believe is one of your questions somewhere, either on a quiz or an exam. Long-term evolution, LTE has been around for a long time as well. I like your book's definition of it as the industry's promise for faster telecommunication speeds. So that's what LTE is. I hope you know where satellites are located. Otherwise, I think we're in a bunch of trouble there. Good for GPS systems. And last but not least, the thing I'm holding in my hand, infrared devices. So if my line of sight is blocked between this sensor and that podium, then I can't advance or go backwards on the slide. So it is infrared. We've been using modems for many, many decades now. The term modem stands for modulator demodulator. So modulation is digital to analog, demodulation is analog to digital. I know I've talked about signals before in this class. Yes, I'm going to talk about them one more time in just a moment. And our various transfer rates are megabits per second, gigabits per second, and terabits per second, which I will talk about in just a few moments. Your book tends to show the 4 main types of modems, but let's be realistic. DSL and cable are pretty much the only modems, or your fiber optic ones, pretty much all we use these days. All right, this should be very familiar to you. There are 2 types of signals. Our voices are analog, computers recognize digital signals. We've talked about this, I think this is the 3rd lecture I've talked about this in. And there are your various transfer rates that I talked about a few moments ago. Keep in mind that some organizations have speeds up to the trillions of bits per second, and that's fast. That's really fast. I was happy with millions of bits per second, but yeah, you notice things take less time to download these days than before? Come on, you were young once. No? I was like 5. Yes, I remember. Of course, when I was 5, we didn't have any of that stuff. All right, so anyway, moving on. Companies like to have their own dedicated lines that they don't have to share with anybody else. And these are called leased lines. They are very expensive to buy. If you've ever heard of the terms T, or anybody talking about T1s or T3s or DS3s, they don't require conventional modems, but they are very, very high capacity, very high speeds, and are very, very expensive. And they're being replaced by fiber optics, optical carrier lines. For those of you with digital subscriber lines, these are also dedicated lines, unlike cable. So this uses phone lines or twisted pair cable, as you saw earlier. And asynchronous digital subscriber line is the most widely used type because the download speeds are faster than the upload speeds. Cable is a shared line. Yes, you do share it with all your neighbors that have cable as well. And if they're all using the internet at the same time, guess what? Your speeds start decreasing. Terrible, terrible. And satellite connection services actually do exist. These are supposed to be in places that you can't get DSL or cable. So we're talking more remote locations. But I've actually had students that subscribe to satellite connections and they're like, well, it's really, really slow. It's really slow and it costs a lot of money. And I'm like, I believe it. I believe it. So yes, satellite services are out there as well. I'm just cutting to the chase with this one. All right, I didn't realize it was going to be this fast today. So anyway, yeah, usually this is like 1 hour plus easy. I hope I get to the half-hour mark. Okay, so I created this slide because, well, I wanted people to see how fast things have come along even in the last 15 years. So in the 1980s, yeah, I get to give you the history now of cell phones. There was only one thing we could do with cell phones in the 1980s. Take a wild guess what that was. You only do one thing with a cell phone. That's what? Come on, you know this. What can I do in 1980s with a cell phone? What can I do with it?
Just call.
Thank you! That's exactly what I was looking for. And it was analog signals only. There was no digital back in the 1980s. That's 1G, or first generation.
Remember the beepers?
Oh yes, oh yes. Even through the 90s, even through the late 90s, even through the early 2000s. But we were only on, as you can see the timeline here, pretty much on 2G until 2005. So in 1990s, yes, I had cell phones, but I actually had an analog cell phone. I kept it too. I didn't sell that sucker back. I didn't throw that thing out. I've got it with my museum of cell phones at home.
Really big one?
I've got, it's big. It's big. You got to pull the antenna out to use it. But it had like the old school numbers on there, like when you were looking like the digital, it was like this is cool.
How would you carry
But
that?
I can only, in my pocket, or in my backpack, because I was riding my bike all over town, so probably in my backpack. So when I could hear it ring, I'm like, I think I'm getting a call. Well, hey, Dad. He's like, you ever gonna come home or what? I'm like, no, I'm riding my bike out. I'm still riding my bike out. I'll be in at some point. Okay, bye. I paid for my own cell phone. He hated it. Remember, my dad hated technology pretty much up until the time of his death, which was recent. But moving on. So in the 90s, we actually were able to, toward the end of the 90s, have phones that we could actually text people with, which was nice. But then finally in 2005, God man, how old was I back then? So when I was first teaching this class, we finally got 3G. You imagine teaching this subject with only 1 and 2G? Like we didn't have any of the rest of that? So they just came out with 3G phones at that point, which gave us the ability to use the internet for the way we wanted to use it. I'm telling you, never try to look up a website with text on a flip phone from the 1990s, because you're going to be sitting there hitting the button to try and type a letter. You're going to hit the button a whole bunch of times to type another letter. Typing a text message took a long time back then. But then again, 3G came out, so now if you don't know what E.T. the movie is, Google it. And we finally got decent speeds, but it would have taken 12 hours to download E.T. the movie. If you don't know what that is, again, Google it. I know that was a previous generation, but I like this graphic because it tells you how fast things have moved. So in 2006, 4G comes out, and we had 4G for a long time. We had 4G all the way up until 2020, 10 times faster than 3G. Still wasn't fast. It's still 4G was nice. But now it takes 10 minutes to download the full movie instead of 12 hours. That's a pretty huge jump. And now, of course, we're in 5G, which, yes, it's a blink of an eye now. Speeds are a lot faster. We don't really think about all this. We think about our data plans, but outside of that, if you have a data plan, I do not, because I have 10 lines and I've got to have unlimited data, otherwise people start complaining. Oh, hope you're not watching this at home. Hope people at home, hope you're, my home, hope you're not watching this. So anyway, I always wonder if they're watching this. We now have fiber optic services all over the place that allow us to have even faster speeds and faster speeds and faster speeds. Again, if you're all wondering what we did in the 1980s and 1990s, you don't want to know. All right. So anytime you hear the term bandwidth, this is the measurement of the width of the capacity of the communication channel. Yes, that width or capacity can be used up. That's why people use the phrase, somebody's using up the bandwidth. And that's true. They're using up the capacity of the transmission. That's an accurate statement. You'll notice we have 4 categories. One I bolded, one I put in bold. People who still miss the questions when I bold stuff, I don't know how to respond to that. Anyway, I actually have voice band at home. So when the internet goes down, I still have a standard phone line that I can use and go, okay, we're still up and running. Medium band is what mainframes get connected to each other with. Many computers and mainframes get connected to each other with, so a lot of cables there. Broadband is what we all use, for the most part, DSL, cable, or satellite. And baseband is another one where computers close to each other can be connected through cables. Now, I don't know if y'all notice in this room, but you know that there's not a cable running from here all the way to the wall where everything's plugged in. So all these are pretty much chained in this room. Well, those are the 4 different types of bandwidth. Your book talks about having an always-on connection. I'll move on. Next up, protocols. So I mentioned hypertext transfer protocol in chapter 2. There's also hypertext transfer protocol secure, which I've talked about as well in chapter 2. And of course, this is when you're in your web browser and you're typing in HTTP. But we don't even have to type that in anymore, do we? We just type in www. We don't even have to type that in. I just type in apple.com, google.com. I just type it in. I don't even type the rest of it in, but it populates it for me. Now, here's another thing. Every single website that you see out there has an associated IP address. So, you notice that it's a series of 4 values with dots between each. Now, IPv4, which is the old version, had numbers from 0 to 255, and that was it. That was it. So I want you to think about your home network. Every single device on your home network has a unique IP address. This is the first part of TCP/IP, identification. So think about how many devices you have in your home. Come on, give me a number. Somebody give me a number. How many devices in your home?
About 10.
10? Anybody else? You say 20? Okay. That's 30. Wait, we've already used up 30 numbers. So let's say everybody in this class has at least 5. I'm going to say 5. Some of you are like, well, I have 10 or 20. Well, you can imagine this number going up. But from what I'm counting, great, I lost track. Okay, 75 between the 15 of you. and 5 more for me. That's 80 IP addresses already being used. So if it only went from 0 to 255 for each one of these numbers, you run out of IP addresses pretty fast. Okay, it's 85 now. So you run out of those numbers pretty fast. So our scientists came up with something called IPv6, which now gives us so many IP addresses that in our lifetimes, yes, even my younger people in here, in our lifetimes, we're not going to run out of IP addresses ever, no matter what. But that's the first part of identification. So every one of your devices at home, the ones you travel around with, all have IP addresses. This may be your extra credit moment of the class. My #1 most favorite term in this class, in the entire course, is packetization. Now, when I was first teaching this class, packetization wasn't a term until I read it one time and I'm like, when did they put that in? So remember earlier when I was talking about the message being broken up into parts and being reassembled? So I send it, it gets broken up into parts, and then it gets reassembled on your end when you see the message. That's what I talked about earlier for those that missed that. So packetization is the process of the information being broken down into small parts and then reassembled again. And that's how it works. I used to call it, it's broken up into cyberspace and then somebody receives it. I suppose if that's what you want to call it. But that's the process. So that's the process for TCP/IP to exchange data between computers. Keep in mind there are other protocols as well that I've talked about before, like File Transfer Protocol, FTP. I talked about that one. But enough about the communications part of the course. Let's get into the network part of the course. So keep in mind, at the end of this class, I am going to talk about courses that we offer in networking if you want to learn more. In the module, I put 3 videos that were recommended to me by my colleagues. So they're all in there. They're all optional videos. If you want to watch them on your own time, you don't have to. I put optional videos on there. So for those that want to learn more, go for it. But those were highly recommended to me to share with the class, so I did. All right. So a network, a communication system that connects two or more. Again, I have an issue with the word computer because if I only have one computer in my house on my network, and I have like a printer or something, those are devices. Those are not 2 or more computers. However, for me and you to exchange information and resources, we each have to have a network, and we each have to have a computer, and we have to share those resources together. So there you go. So there are many, many terms here. I'm not going to bore you to tears with this. I'm just going to talk about a few of these. I believe one of the answers for today's quiz is network gateway. So keep in mind that any device connected to the network is what we call a node. And our network gateway connects multiple networks together. You will notice that it connects 2 networks with different transmission protocols together. I talked about client and server before in this class. Remember, your computer that you are requesting websites from the server, your device is the client. Your phone is the client when you're trying to look things up and get access to information that's on a server. Like your banking information with your banking app. You're asking the server to give you access to that. But your client is the phone or the computer. Some of us have routers that are nodes that forward or route data packets to other devices on our network. So that way, all the packets are floating around. Talked about the packets earlier, but the purpose of a router is to make sure that the flow of those packets goes smoothly. I know there's a lot of activity today, right, people at home? I know, you can hear it. So anyhow, we also have things called switches. Now, a switch is a big box that looks like it has a whole bunch of Ethernet ports on it. And the purpose of a switch is to coordinate the flow of data throughout the network. And the network administrator can monitor the traffic of that network as well through their network operating system. Network interface cards, not really around a whole lot anymore. They're pretty much built into our computers now. But if you ever see those cards, I think I've shown one to you before, they connect the computer to the network. All right, with this, I want you to think geographically. In this chapter, they talk about 6 different types of networks. So your personal area network would be like, well, my phone's the hotspot. All the things, all the devices and everything connected to my phone is in my personal area network, which means that I'm not using this for someone across campus to have access to. I'm using it here in this little area called my personal area, and that's a personal area network. Your home networks can vary depending on the size of your home. Yes, when I go outside, my network cuts off. And it drives my wife crazy every single morning. I'm like, you gotta wait until we get down the street before you try to access something on your phone, because trying to go from one network to another. So your home network's a little bit bigger. It could be outside of your house for a certain range or outside of your apartment for a certain range, but then it cuts out. Then it finally cuts out. So it's bigger than a personal area network, but it's smaller than a local area network. Now, you can go do the same research that I've done. There are many different definitions of a local area network. We could have a local area network right here in this room. We could have it in the entire floor of this building. We could have it in the entire building. We could have it in multiple buildings. The whole campus actually has a local area network. So you notice what I'm talking about here, the various definitions. It could be a room, it could be a building, it could be 2 buildings, it could be the entire campus, which in this case we do have one for the entire campus. But that's a local area network. It's wider. You notice that the geographic ranges are getting wider now. What about metropolitan area networks? How big are those? Like, how far do those go? It's for the entire what?
Area.
Right, or city, right. It's much larger. No Tempe's got one, because when I drive through... Yeah?
Do they only have one server, or do they have some backup servers?
Oh, they have to have backups. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So maybe it could be many. It depends how big. It depends how big the city is for that network. So yeah, network can have a ton of servers on it. All right. This is for either your quiz or your exam. The world's largest wide area network is called the what? We talked about it in chapter 2. Talked about it in chapter 2. The world's largest wide area network is called the what? Internet. Very good. Thank you. So yes, the internet spans the entire globe, and it is a wide area network. And again, notice we're getting bigger, 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 bigger. Now, wireless LAN is different. So there's just 5 types. But when there's no wires, and we can access our networks, it's wireless. Moving on. So, here's another term, topology. So, there are many different types of network architectures. Now keep in mind, you are not going to know what topology your network has unless you're either A, the person administering the network, or B, you have access to, bless you, or you have access to the people that administer the network. Other than that, you've got to take a guess. So, with network topology, this is the physical arrangement of the network, and there are several different types, which I will talk about in just a moment. There are also strategies on how information and resources can be shared through client-server networks and also through peer-to-peer networks. Now, some of these that you're going to see are not really used as much as some of the other ones that you're going to see. So here's the bus network, where all of the devices are connected to a singular line. So what's the problem if this gets cut? You snip.
It's gonna stop working.
Everything on the network's going to go down, right? That's the problem with the bus network, is that if I cut the cable or something happens to the cable, all the devices have no connectivity to it. That's bad, right? We need something more reliable. Ring networks are still out there, also called token ring networks, and there's also dual ring networks. So again, the good news with this is if one part of the connection goes down, everybody is still connected. But now we have dual ring networks, yes, so that the reliability of the network connection increases. Again, how do you know that it's a ring network? You have to ask your administrator. Okay, the one that I have at home is this. So, when my internet goes down, all the devices have no access to, to the network at all. And that did happen. The Cox, the gigantic Cox box thing that you get, that thing like fried out one day, like fried out. And I went, wow, how did we do that? And so everything was down. But luckily, we have wireless networks, right? That we can use to have connections. So yes, that's what I got to do, was use my phone to make the computers work until they could get me another box. But anyhow, you notice in this network, everything is connected to network switch, or in your homes, it's going to be connected to the device that makes everything run. And if that goes down, poof. You don't really see tree networks anymore, but keep in mind that with a tree network, it looks like an organization chart. But the problem is that if this computer wants to talk to this computer, it's got to go up and down. And that's slow. That's slow. I don't want to talk about. Now, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the internet itself. That's this. Think about this. The entire world is made up of a ton of networks. The internet is made up of a ton of networks. If one goes down, the rest of them are all still connected. So all my people that love conspiracy theories, and I know you're out there, I'm going to say it like I do every semester at this time. You can try to take the whole internet down, but if it hasn't been done yet, it ain't going to happen. Servers can go down, yes, but you're not taking the rest of the internet down. The rest of the internet's still there. Just like yesterday, they took Canvas down, but I was still able to do everything else. It was just Canvas I couldn't get into. No big deal. Well, okay, maybe it's a big deal. I did have to write, like I said, I did have to write my emails for assignment extensions, which I better get that done today. Anyway, with mesh networks, yes, homes can have mesh networks too, where if one node goes down, the rest of them are all still up. But you'd have to go, I'm not a networking expert, so you'll have to go figure out how to set that up. I am the person that set up our home network, so when it goes down, guess who has to fix it? Me. Okay. Usually I have cheesy videos to accompany this lecture, but I decided to opt out of the cheesy videos for this one. All right, moving on. Well, there's a lot of action today. I love it. Okay, so I know you can hear it. All right. So anyway, I know that's great, right? Okay. All right. So anyhow, there are two types of network strategies. One of these, which I've already talked about a bunch of times, is the client-server network. The server provides you with access. You put in your password, or you put in your two-factor authentication, and it gives you access to information that's on that server. Just like when you log into Canvas. Yes, I'm going back into the Canvas jokes, right? Out yesterday. So, yes, we all have to log into Canvas to see our classes, and the server, which was down yesterday, normally provides us access to do that. Peer-to-peer is different. That's when you and I are sharing files with one another. Keep in mind that your device acts as both the client, the one requesting from the other computer, and the server, providing files to the other computer. Yes, there's been illegal peer-to-peer network activity over the course of time. No, I'm not going to get into that today. I'm just telling you that it still exists. I know you're loving the transitions, right? All right, they come together, they blow up, they come back together, it's great. All right, so there are two types of organizational networks that businesses use. One is an intranet, and that's where us, the employees, have to log into a certain website, and it gives us that information that only we in the organization can access. There are emails that go out from time to time that give us news about what's happening within the Maricopa Community Colleges. For me to access those articles, I have to actually sign in with my MEID and my password. That's an intranet. An extranet is something like, company wants to know how much of something our business needs to order. So they log into an extranet to see how much we have in stock and when we need to reorder products. Because yes, businesses have to reorder supplies, reorder supplies, reorder supplies. I keep going back to the whole toilet paper thing. Because all of us here on this campus probably need it at one point or another while we're on campus. So the supplier has to know when to restock the toilet paper. So they go through the extranet and they say, well, we know you're low on this, would you like to reorder some? And they'll log in and make sure that happens. Also, you'll see extranets where companies need like construction bids, and they want all the companies to log into the extranet and place their bids and submit their packets for their request for proposals and those types of things. So that's an extranet. They still have to log in though. The companies have to log in, and us, the employees that need to check it, have to log in as well. I know it was a long explanation on that. Okay. All right. Chapter 9, I'm going to talk more about security in Chapter 9. So this is just the lead-in to the next chapter. So with network security, you'll probably hear certain terms like a firewall, which keep in mind that a firewall is both hardware and software that controls access to a network. So if somebody's trying to get into your network and you have a firewall installed, the purpose of the firewall is to block those people, yes, those external threats. Like say someone's trying to put a password in like 10,000 times using a program, like trying to guess the password. The firewall is supposed to stop that at some point. However, the intrusion detection system should also be kicked off if someone's trying to put in the password a whole bunch of times for a username. So, yes, with that intrusion detection system, the network administrator or whoever's administering that can see that somebody's trying to get in, and they can see the IP address and they can see other information. Virtual private networks have been around for decades, many, many decades. So in the past, my experiences with this, when the colleges wouldn't let you go home to access the financial system, you could only access it from work, they had to give you virtual private network software, and you had to install it, and you had to have a separate password, separate username, separate everything. But it did allow for a secure private network, so that I could access what I needed to access to work from home. Which, yeah, that was fun. But today, you notice there's a whole bunch of companies out there that are selling VPN stuff. Again, I'm going to say this one more time. I know I've mentioned it before. Hello. So anyhow, I know I've mentioned this before. If you actually do the same things every day on the internet, you're not really doing anything else, like you're not doing anything crazy, you don't really need a VPN. I don't have one, haven't had one in decades. Work's the only one that provided me one, and that's just because I needed to access the financial system from home. So outside of that, that's all I got to talk about there. And our career nights, wow, this may be a record for me. Okay. 38 minutes, oh, it was about 40 minutes, okay. Anyway, network administrators, today's career in IT, median salary, $96,800 as of last year. That is an increase over 2023. Keep in mind that this is somebody that has taken a lot of coursework in networking, a lot of coursework. Knows how to maintain hardware and software, usually has a bachelor's degree of some kind, and practical experience. And yes, you can administer your own home network and have experience there as well. But then, of course, if you try to do that in an interview, they're going to ask you exactly what you did. All right, not done yet. So, our look to the future for this chapter is telepresence lets you be there without actually being there. That's happening right now. Yes, I can be in 3 different meetings at one time without actually being at any of them, which is great. But just keep in mind that we can put backgrounds now, and people will go, that looks so real. Are you really there? Are you really here? Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm outside. Why are you outside? I'm like, this is nice out. So you just create that illusion, right, that you're actually at a different location. They're great. It's getting better. Yes, I have to do my selling. So, I have to do my selling. So, spring of 26, we got 3, technically 4, but I'm doing this because Rami's been awesome. So Rami runs, all his classes are in E213 down the hall, so that classroom has, yes, a bunch of networking equipment in it. But if you're interested this spring, you can either take the class online or in person. Keep in mind that the CNT 140s, the difference between the 190 and the 140 is that these are actually in alignment with the CompTIA certification. I think I'm talking about that right, or is it Cisco? My bad, I think that's right, it's Cisco. It's Cisco certification, not the CompTIA, that's a different class. So this is what the Cisco certification, 190 is just the regular networking fundamentals class, but they're both out there. You can take either one. For those that are taking the IT bachelor's degree, you can take either one for it. Keep in mind the CNT 140 is 4 credits and 190 is 3 credits. I gotta mention that as well. But anyway, we got a bunch of offerings, they're out there. That may be the quickest I've ever done this chapter, because I usually have like 20 minutes of cheesy videos, which I did not want to do today. But anyway, people at home, you were great. I know you were great. You're going to be great Thursday. Hey, Thursday. Excel chapter 4. You're all not going to like me for that one, because it is going to be a little bit longer. Definitely longer than what you've seen so far. Maybe not as bad as the second one. It's not as bad as the second one. But it's there. All right, people online, thank you for being here. 25,000 views over the weekend. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Catch you all Thursday.